Hi, everybody, and welcome to our first ever virtual Ohio and Sorority Fraternity Life House Director Development Training. As I mentioned previously, this training is not mandated, not required, but simply some personal and professional development resources, best practices, and tips for you all so that you can be the most successful in your role for the 2020-2021 academic year. Hopefully we can continue the conversation throughout the year, but this will just be a little jump start to get us ready for the fall. So in this development and training, we're going to focus on a couple of different areas. First, we're going to introduce you to the staff of the Office of Sorority and Fraternity Life. Then we're going to do a brief overview of our community, should you not be familiar with our Greek community here at Ohio. Then we're going to talk a little bit about what the relationship looks like between you as house director, the house corporation boards, our office, and the university. Then we're going to dive a little bit into the house director position, what your responsibilities are, suggested duties, tips and tools. Then we're going to do a little bit of professional development training around chapter communication and working with Generation Z. Then we will transition to talking about chapter house operations, and then university policies and expectations, which will lead us into a fun conversation around student safety and accountability. And then finally, we will end our time together talking about campus resources, emergency contact information, and then some additional resources for you that will help you be as successful as you can be in this role. So to start, the Office of Sorority and Fraternity Life is located in the Baker University Center in Office 330. Our staff is remote this fall due to COVID, but someone is working around the clock from 8 to 5 p.m. We do have our office phone forwarded, so you can reach us at the number listed here. We will have in-person office hours on Fridays for groups that don't have facilities that can pick up mail or for any other packages, but primarily we have transitioned all of our advising and our programs to a virtual format. So our staff is made up of 4 people. Myself as the director, 2 returning graduate assistants, Jeremy Paul as the primary advisor for IFC, Justice Berta as the primary advisor for the Women's Panhellenic Association, and then we have a new graduate assistant, Stephen J. Black, who's the primary advisor for our MPHC and United Greek Councils. And Stephen is also a house director for Phi Kappa Psi. So our office's mission in partnership with students, foster a positive, ethical, healthy, and equitable social values-based experience for all of our members in our community. And some of the ways that we do that are through these priorities, which are empowering our students, working on prevention and harm reduction, focusing on education and development, creating systems and structures that are centered around equity and social justice, working on partnership and collaboration with our students and stakeholders, which you can see through this training here, and then advocacy. So transitioning to giving you a 30,000-foot view of our sorority and fraternity community here at Ohio. So as you can imagine, with an institution as old as ours, so too is our sorority and fraternity community. We were founded over 175 years ago. We have 4 governing councils today. Our Interfraternity Council, or IFC, which is made of our men's groups. We have 14 chapters and a little over 1,100 men. Then we have our National Panhellenic Council, or NPHC, which currently has 6 chapters and around 60 members, both in fraternities and sororities. Then we have our Unified Greek Council, or UGC, which currently has 1 active co-ed chapter with 10 members. And then we have our Women's Panhellenic Association, or WPA, which has 10 chapters of women's groups and around 2,000 members. We currently make up about 12% of the student body. Normally our highest percentage is at the end of fall because of our primary recruitment for our IFC and WPA councils. 21 of our 34 chapters are housed. And our chapters, while founded off of different ideals and different focal points, do have similar core values, and that's focusing on member development, social interactions, charitable giving, academic achievement, and service to the community. And some of the ways that you see that are things like having a higher average GPA than those not affiliated with a sorority and fraternity. And I'm sure if you have been a house director, or this is your first couple weeks into the role, you will see some of the phenomenal work that our members are doing day in and day out to actively live by those core values. So next I want to transition our discussion to talking about the relationship between you as house director or our house corporations and us as an office or us as a university. Obviously, your house is either owned or managed by a local house corporation or a national house corporation. That means that we as a university do not have any direct oversight or management of your facilities. The only connection that we currently have to your properties is that we have the second year on campus exemption, which allows our sophomore students to move out of the residence halls and into your sorority and fraternity facility. And because of that, we have put some structures in place to ensure a safe and healthy living experience for those students, because it is our goal to create a similar living environment for our second year students. So some of the ways that we're trying to achieve that goal is through our semester fire inspections, the health and safety inspections that happen in the spring, through requesting housing documentation from you all, like the lease or contract that your members sign, and a roster of students living in your facility. Finally, while not a requirement, but a strongly encouraged recommendation, is that house directors are a graduated student, preferably 2 years out. And we really do this for your benefit, so that you have a better chance of success at holding the members in the organization accountable. So why should we support house directors? You as house directors are asked to do many of the same things that resident hall directors are asked to do. Yet, unlike the resident hall staff, there's little to no built-in support network from us as a university. And that's primarily because we don't oversee or manage your facilities. Now, while most of you that do respond to a national house corporation board have those trainings and resources and development, some of our local groups do not. And so we want to make sure that you are getting that development, not only so that you're successful, but so that in turn our students are having a good experience as well. You as house directors are usually on the front line in our fraternities and sororities. And if you're personally acquainted with us, with staff in the university, you're going to be much more likely to know of the policies and expectations so that you can keep your students abreast of those expectations. It's also good for you to know the trends that are happening on campus, again, so that you can ensure your members are having the best experience possible. Studies have also shown that chapter houses with house directors are much less likely to cause trouble with their neighbors or to let social events get out of hand. An informed, educated, and connected house director is going to be able to make knowledgeable decisions, and he or she will know what the university or office policies are. While right now there's might seem to be some gray area or confusion between the relationship of the house director and the university, I will say that we are having conversations moving forward of if we have no oversight at all moving forward, meaning that we're not doing health and safety inspections, we're not asking for documents from you all. I don't know the answer to that yet. That's something we're going to continue discussing over the course of the year prior to the second year exemption process. And I would definitely like to engage you all in that dialogue. And so if that's something that you want to comment on in your response or ask questions about, I would be happy for that to be a discussion point. In thinking about the relationship, I want it to be transactional. I want it to be two ways. And so, what can we provide to you all beyond just this development? A directory of contact information of all the other house directors, I think, is a good starting point so that you can form this camaraderie and support system with the other 20 house directors. A directory to key players in university administration, continued professional development, whether that be from us or me just sending you resources from insurance companies or fraternal associations, invitations to events. So even if you can't come, just knowing what's happening in our community and having the invitation to attend. And then use of the campus email or campus email address. By all means, you don't need to have one or use one, but if you're interested, I'd be more than happy to work with IT to create a Theta Chi house director at ohio.edu. So that's definitely something that we can provide to you. So some general tips for success as the house director. Make sure that you get to know the chapter members as individuals and show sincere interest in them personally. Obviously, you're going to have a lot to do in managing the facility and managing the chapter as a whole, but I can almost guarantee that you will see more success if you take the time to get to know people one-on-one. And with that, take the time to get to know the house corporation, the advisors, the alumni, the chapter officers, and really have a conversation of what they expect from you and what you expect from them, whether that be meetings, communication, responsibilities. Having that conversation up front will help you in the long run. Just going through some of these. So make sure that you take some time to inform yourself of the current trends within our community, the policies that we have in place. While we can't mandate you to report things that happen within the facilities, I would hope that your goal is the same as ours, and that's to ensure a safe, healthy, and successful, thriving sorority and fraternity community. And I would love to be true partners with you in that. And so if you're informed of the policies, then you can help us in holding our members accountable, having challenging conversations with them, informing me so that I can continue the conversations with them, because I think that then that will all help us to be better in the long run. Another and one of the most important tips for success is knowing that all of us staff in sorority and fraternity life are here to assist you, whether it's through guidance, training, resources, as a sounding board, or hopefully to provide you answers. That's our job, and we want to be there for you as an important piece of our community. So while your responsibilities as a house director may look different based on your contract or the expectations of your house corporation board, there may be some general responsibilities that all of you have across the board. And I've included them here. I'll go over a couple of them, but you may be responsible for the residential and dining components of the house, more than likely, definitely the residential pieces. And depending on if you have a meal service or meal plan provided, then you might be overseeing that as well. You might be responsible for supervising full-time and part-time employees, coordinating the day-to-day operations between the organization and its resident members, supervising house management. So if your chapter has an undergraduate member who is the house manager, really working with them to make sure that they're getting the most out of their position, ensuring that your residents adhere to your house policies, to the university's policies, and to the local and state laws, that you are maintaining knowledge in all organizational policies, that you're promoting academic excellence among the members, and that you're promoting house safety and making recommendations for improvements when it's necessary. Obviously, not on here, but probably very relevant right now, is I'm sure a lot of you have some added responsibilities with COVID, ensuring that the health and safety is at its highest right now, whether it be sanitization, making sure that your members are physically distant, wearing masks in public spaces, that the entrance and exit are separated, whatever that may be. I'm sure that you probably have a lot on your plate. And so now more than ever, like reaching out to one another and, whether it's just as a sounding board or to vent or as support, wanting to make sure that you're taking the time for yourself too, because I know that a lot of you have a big role right now and we appreciate you. So some suggested duties that might be other duties as assigned to think about: residing in the house whenever it's open, attending all in-house functions, setting an example for your undergrads. I can't stress this enough, is that you are a role model, that if you have certain policies around alcohol in the house, that making sure you two are following that, whether you're over the age of 21 or not. With these guidelines, as far as COVID's concerned, that you two are following it, because they will look to you for your mentorship and modelship. Serving as a host at the house for certain special events. Obviously, these are probably not taking place right now, but hopefully we'll be able to return to some sort of normalcy in the spring. And so that might be something that is asked of you, to serve as a host for a Mother's Club meeting or faculty appreciation dinner or for homecoming. Attend all house director meetings and trainings, assist in providing a positive developmental living experience for your residents. And again, I'm sure you can see a theme: ensure compliance with the policies, rules, and regulations. Again, just to ensure that your members are safe and healthy. And then finally, so supervising the common areas of the house, working with chapter advisors, reporting unacceptable conduct, catering health-related programming to the fit and needs of the residents, and then coordinating house inspections with appropriate vendors. So again, duties that may be as assigned to you. Okay, so a quick little personal professional development for you, because we are working with Generation Z. And if you aren't familiar with what that is, maybe some of you are even in Generation Z. Those are our students born in 1995 or later, and currently making up about 33% of the United States. So some common characteristics of Gen Z is they're willing to start from the bottom and work their way up. They know what they need to do to get ahead in life. 67% of their top concern is how to pay for college and not drowning in debt. Which I know is different from millennials, because as a millennial, never thought about it once, and now I'm paying for it, literally. They're the most competitive generation. They want to be a part of a winning team. They dislike group projects and like to work alone. So if you think about that and thinking about Generation Z, they want to work alone, be alone. How does that play into working with them in a housing environment and pulling people out of their rooms and making sure that people are engaged and connected? They want honesty and fairness. 40% said that working Wi-Fi was more important than working bathrooms. I would say that that doesn't mean that you need to slack on ensuring that the plumbing is working, but just understanding how important that social connection and internet connection is to this group of students, because they will never know a world without the internet. They have an 8-second attention span. So if you are my Gen Zs watching this, you're probably like, this is way too long. And innovation is done in 2 steps: thinking it and doing it. So your best way to communicate with Gen Z is communicating across multiple platforms. So I've learned that email, GroupMe, text, sometimes I get messages on Facebook and Instagram. Like, you will find what works for you, and you need to do it. And sometimes you need to get them from all different directions. Connect through images. They love their GIFs. They love their memes. And so sometimes you need to spruce it up to make it interesting. Communicate through snackable content. So that means like quick little videos or messages, not really long emails, not really long meetings. You want to do like quick little gatherings, because that will retain, that will be more easily retainable for them. See them as diverse. So not everybody has the same type of learning style. Not everybody wants to read an email. Not everybody wants to sit together. Not everybody comes from the same background, the same prior living experience. And so really that's where is important for you to get to know everybody on an um, uh, individual relationship. Don't talk down to them. They are adults. Treat them as adults. Okay, so chapter house operations. These again are just some professional development, personal development tools and tips to think through. Um, no matter how cool you are, students are always going to listen to other students first. And so one thing that I have found to be helpful as an advisor is finding those students that like maybe do think you're cool and do listen to you, get them on your side, and then have them be your spokesperson. And so maybe that's your house manager, maybe it's your president, or maybe it's the kid in your house that everybody listens to. But you need to find your students and have them be your cheerleader. Being a house director is not a popularity contest. I know it may make your living environment a lot better, but you need to establish professional boundaries. Sometimes no is the best answer, and people don't like no, but again, it will help the environment overall. Make sure you're listening to both sides of the story. You'll probably be doing a lot of conflict management, conflict resolution, and so you're going to need to put on your listening ears and try to be an unbiased party. Challenge the process. The students will appreciate you for it in the long run. So pushing them on their ways of thinking, how they're responding to certain things. Everyone loves recognition, so dropping them cute little notes or letting them know when they've done a good job, it empowers them to continue doing it. Don't neglect your personal life. I kind of alluded to this a little bit before, but you live where you work, and so you need to make sure you're taking time away for yourself. Make sure that you're making connections, make sure that you're getting involved outside of the facility. Close your door, like maybe set office hours or whatever you're allowed to do within the parameters of your contract, but don't feel like you need to be on 24/7. Make sure you unwind. Advise, guide, but never decide. Quote of my life. So your job is to not necessarily make the decisions unless, again, it's in your responsibilities as the house director. So like deciding on upgrades for the house or what to do with plumbing. But when it comes to student decisions, you want to help them find the answer. Hold students accountable for their words and actions. And remember that you have 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 1 mouth, and to use them in this proportion and in this order. So as we wrap up our time together, clearly a lot of text here, so I'm not going to read this all to you, but I do want you to be aware of, I call them like the big three policies that we really focus on as a matter of health and wellness for our groups, and something that I think would probably most greatly impact their living environment. So first we have the hazing policy, which you can find on the university's website, on our website, and it's policy 23.010. Essentially, the hazing policy for the university is any action or situation which recklessly or intentionally endangers the mental, emotional, or physical health of a student for the purpose of initiation or admission into or affiliation with a student organization, regardless of their willingness, of their consent to participate. And then the next couple bullet points just kind of give examples of what hazing looks like, from brutality to coerced consumption to acts that would cause embarrassment or mental stress. Things to look out for in your house is obviously like if you can tell that people are being secretive, if people are retreating and kind of hiding away, if you notice things happening really late at night, like this is where you just need to have honest conversations. None of this stuff should be happening. Hazing at any point should never be occurring. It's against our policy and it is against the law in the state of Ohio. Happy to have conversations with you all about what this looks like. If there's still confusion around hazing, especially after last year, that can be one of the questions that you pose in your response videos. Next is our sexual misconduct, relationship violence, and stalking policy. I think the big thing that's important here is really talking about what consent is and what a valuable conversation this is that you can have with your residents and with the members in the chapter. Is that consent must be clear and unambiguous for each participant throughout any sexual encounter. It has to be informed and it has to be voluntary. Um, Consent to some sexual acts does not imply consent to others, and nor does past consent um, to a given act imply ongoing or future consent. And then consent can be revoked at any time. Um, Consent cannot be obtained from someone who's asleep or otherwise mentally or physically incapacitated. So that is where the conversation is so important, that if our students are incapacitated from alcohol or other substances, that they might not be able to consent. And so I think that this is where, when you're in an intimate setting, like in the chapter facility, you can have some really good conversations about what this looks like, practically speaking. Again, happy to help with those conversations, provide you additional resources. You're on the front line, you see what they're talking about, you hear them. Good opportunity for you to challenge and call them out if you hear language that's not appropriate, to tell them so and to give them a learning opportunity. And if you don't feel that you're equipped or prepared to do that, let's get you there. Let's help you. You just have to ask the question. Finally, our alcoholic beverages on university property and in fraternity and sorority houses. So this is another university policy, and it basically states that any of our facilities, they cannot have alcohol in the common areas of the house. Alcoholic beverages can only be in the private rooms of individuals that are 21 or older. Your organization may have stricter policies, and so we expect for them to follow the stricter. We as an office have additional rules around alcohol. Currently this fall, we are not approving any events with alcohol, just because of COVID and because the limit is still groups of 10 or under. And so we want to reduce alcohol from the scenario and just focus on the health and safety of everybody in the community. But if we were having events, all events have to be registered, meaning they would register with our office, then be approved. Events have to be closed, so that means a guest list. So it can't be just like any Joe Schmo off the street going to a party. They need to know who is coming in advance and check them in. Events need to be BYO or third party vended. So people would come with their own 6-pack, 12-pack, or they would pay a third party vendor, so like a bartender, to come and to manage the liability and the bartending of that event. And then each event needs to have sober monitors and hosts. Our policies or our guidelines, regulations around events with alcohol is a lot more detailed and longer, but this is the main points. Finally, I've talked to you about this before, but I just want to reiterate it one last time, is while we can't mandate for all of you what your duty to report looks like for those members in our community, I would just ask as a partner, as a colleague, to operate from that framework as a duty to report. So sharing it with us if something happens in your facility and letting us know, not so that it could be a matter of getting people in trouble, but so that we can provide education, assistance, resources, and support to our students, because I operate as a director of really wanting to set them up for success, help them be better, understand what the sorority and fraternity experience is supposed to look like. So if you learn of a potential policy violation, like the sexual violence, like hazing, if they do have parties with alcohol at their house, or if you receive a complaint, I would ask that you talk to me about it so we could work together. I can work with your national organization to figure out what's the best path forward to work with our students. And I think that creating those partnerships would be best for everybody involved. So that kind of transitions us into, as you think about like what would be some of the things that would be good for you to inform us of outside of policy. If there's a physical injury Obviously, if there's a death of a member or guest, any situation which requires medical attention, you don't need to call me at midnight if like someone just like got a scrape. But if it's something big, like please let me know, or send me an email and I'll see it the next day. If a house fire, any event for which you call 911, or any event for which the media has contacted you or otherwise become involved, that just gets us to a point where I'm just informed and I'm prepared and know. And then these are just some steps of what to do after that happens. So that's my personal cell phone. Don't take advantage of it. Calling the university emergency, OUPD non-emergency. I will do a follow-up video with those numbers. I'm sorry I didn't include those in here, but these are the people you would want to contact. Like I said, I will share those numbers in a follow-up video. Finally, these are just additional resources, things to think of. I saw this on a house director like resource site, and I thought it was really cool to have a ransom box. So any items left in public areas are placed in the box, and members must pay $1 to get them back, and then that could be used towards something in the house or donated to the philanthropy. When If your house has like tools, you have to require a driver's license and as a deposit to ensure the items are returned. A lot of houses said that they had like these little boxes or like survival kits in various areas. So they just had like a general toolbox, which had this stuff listed here. There was a box like in the laundry room, a kitchen box, a bathroom box, just of resources that were always on hand, which I thought was pretty neat. And then something that's also really nice to think about, keep a feminine emergency kit in fraternity guest bathrooms, or both bathrooms. You know, if our women don't have that in their bathrooms, something smart to do. And then some additional resources. I will drop these actual links in one of the chats in the system that we're going to be using, but these have some really great continued development, things to work through with COVID. But yeah, so this should hopefully help you along your journey. And again, make sure you're reaching out to your national organization, because they too probably have some really great resources for you. So with that, this was our training for our sorority and fraternity house directors. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you found it valuable. I'm going to share this on our new little app, Flipgrid. And I just ask that you respond with a video of any questions that you have, comments, thoughts, things that you found were interesting, things that you would like to continue to talk about, or just things that you want to connect on. But with that, I wish you the best of luck, and please reach out if you need anything. Thank you.